Hello and welcome to my interpersonal communication presentation for Human Service Counseling 508. Some of the topics that I'll be discussing within the presentation are my overarching goal, enlarging the conversation, family of origin, behavioral blend, potential barriers to interpersonal contacts, noise pollution, and my action plan. My overarching goal is to become an effective level 1 listener, which means that I will be attentive, mindful in the moment, letting the talker know that he or she is truly being heard and understood, possessing empathic listening techniques that will assist me in developing healthy relationships in my profession as a counselor. So in that profession, I'd like to establish and develop effective focusing, using body posture, eye contact, interacting non-verbally, using encouraging skills by suggesting the person to encourage talk, suggesting the person talk, and by nexting, reflecting by paraphrasing, adding an example of an experience, a similar experience, a gentle persuasion by verbal and nonverbal, smiling, nodding, saying yes, is that it? Learning from my uniqueness to understand and break down barriers of effective communication within my relationships. So understanding through my weaknesses what barriers I do possess. Forming and maintaining relationships with enlarging the conversation. Interpersonal communication is defined as the exchange when listening and talking that magnifies the presence of each person on a more personal relational level, as opposed to impersonal conversations or communication where it's not just idle banter like at the checkout counter. It's more on a personal level where you learn to know the person's heart. Defining, enlarging the conversation is to utilize the diverse communication skills while listening to verbal and nonverbal cues that enable the conversation to develop the perceptions, values, and beliefs of those within the interpersonal communication. And I tend to try and do this as a Christian. I like to enlarge the conversation by asking others their beliefs, their values from being brought up in the church, their belief in Jesus, and so on and so forth. My family of origin, so I was baptized and confirmed in the Lutheran Church. However, I was not saved until I was 33. I believe Jesus Christ to be my Savior and Redeemer of this fallen earth. I'm the middle daughter. I was overlooked mainly by my mother, who was setting standards for my older sister and bringing up and nurturing my younger sister. And at that time, I had two older brothers that she was also raising. I became the invisible child, went about my business unnoticed, which caused me to be a frustrated communicator. I was overlooked and not heard, so it became frustrating to get something said to others. I eventually felt that I didn't have anything of interest to share, so that I became quiet and quite introverted. I became a bookworm, reading mostly if I wasn't outdoors exploring. Excuse me. I'm a creative person. I love to write poems and short stories, and I love home decorating. I'm intelligent. I do seek knowledge of different contexts to enhance my life's journey. I'm empathetic. I've walked the broad road of despair and self-deprecation with others, and I understand the need to heal. My behavioral blend, according to the DISC model, the four-temperament model of human behavior, is a CSD, which I broke down to be confident, steady doer. I'm a high C, passive, reserved, people-oriented, meaning I'm cautious around people. I'm very confident, compliant with people, careful, and contemplative. My S is passive, reserved, task-oriented. I'm mainly task-oriented. I'm a steady, stable specialist with security-oriented submission. And a D, task-oriented, dominating, directing, demanding, determined, doing. I'm not much of a people person according to this model. I'll discuss the positives and negatives in my interpersonal communication as a CSD. I possess strong, on the positive communication side, I possess strong convictions, sensitive spirit, and I am competent. I'm compliant, conscientious of others' feelings, knowledgeable, organized, and diligent. I stand out, but I'm not a glory hog. I'm supportive and kind. On the negative side, which it can be portrayed as a negative, or it can be portrayed as a uniqueness or a weakness, something that I need work on. At times I can lack confidence and can be shy or quiet. I tend to do that when I allow others the foreground. I can be dominant and forceful with my own feelings, subconscious passivity, daydreaming, doubtful, and occasional negative thinking, which I think we can all become involved in some time or another. And I need to work on friendliness and my charisma, and also my lack of enthusiasm, since I'm not such a people person, and I like to be in the background, working on a task most likely. I am insightful according to my interpersonal communication skills test. I scored an 86 in insightfulness, and it says that the results indicate that I'm extremely adept at interpreting other people's words and actions and seeing things from their perspective, which likely results with few understandings. You seem to realize that empathy is an essential part of good intercommunication skills, and therefore will do my best to place myself in other people's shoes in order to better understand them, and I do that. You can generally get a good sense of what others are thinking and will likely adjust yourself accordingly if the people you're conversing with seem confused or perhaps uncomfortable. And yes, I tend to have a flexible mind. Barriers to communication. Some of my barriers are thinking about something else other than what the person is saying. It's an internal distraction. Wanting to correct what is being said mid-sentence, so I do tend to interrupt, and I believe that comes from being the invisible middle child. One-upping or wanting to win the conversation. I tend to do that. Judging appearance, mannerisms, or inflection. These are barriers that I struggle with. Displaying disinterest with body language. Sometimes I do fold my arms. And then the other barriers are internal and external noise pollution, which we'll get into in the following slides. So breaking down these barriers in communication is to be direct, simple, and clear in what you say, to avoid internal distractions, to not interrupt the speaker, listen and wait until they're done speaking, and waiting for the right moment to speak. Do not make the conversation competitive. My idea is better than yours. Know that when I'm judging, that I'm not on level one listening, and I'm not hearing and understanding the other person. That I need to take notice of my mannerisms, my body language, and my facial expressions. Ask for clarification if I don't understand something. Be mindful of the conversation. Be in the moment, and create a quiet environment. External noise pollution. An example of external noise pollution is even if people are strongly determined to arrive on time for a meeting, and their actions may be subject to unintended errors, taking the wrong exit or being held up in unexpected traffic, that can cause them to be late. This is external noise pollution. In the context of a social dilemma, such unintended errors are referred to as noise, which is defined as discrepancies between intended and actual outcomes for an interaction partner due to unintended errors. So some internal noise pollution is the distraction is a term generally used to describe noise. Characteristics of distractors can be classified in terms of stimulus control, which might help to better identify the stimulus properties most likely in affecting response, most likely to affect responding. So, in my words, distraction, which causes interest, is an internal diversion that will affect the initiative to respond. So often internal noise and interference are the result of anxiety, nervousness, or stress. An example of internal noise, is the internal monologue you might be telling yourself before you start maybe a counseling session that I'm not good enough. I might forget some counseling strategies. They're going to think that I'm incompetent. Some noise examples, internal noise examples, can come in the form of daydreaming, anger and other emotions, being hungry, thirsty, or if you're in pain. Solutions to noise pollution. Have a comfortable, quiet area when seeking interpersonal conversations. Make the ambience and the atmosphere comfortable. Make sure that I'm not hungry, thirsty, emotional, or in pain. And inquire of the other of the same. Organize and be prepared so to avoid internal noise of confusion. Have confidence in my topic, idea, or dream to avoid internal noise of doubt. Have confidence and not fidget or display judgmental body language. That also is external distractions or noise pollution. Avoid any external distractions by closing doors or windows, and remember to embrace silence. So my action plan is to make my overarching goals a reality. I'll commit to utilizing and practicing the following techniques and principles of effective interpersonal communication. So I'll be enlarging the conversation with all my interactions with others whenever possible. The quality of the conversation is equal to the quality of my life. Utilizing dialogic or empathetic listening, my willingness to collaboratively co-construct meaning with others. Understanding internal and external noise will assist in developing the right atmosphere in my counseling process, as well as my interpersonal relationships. Knowing my uniquenesses and strengths, my personality type and blend will assist in either growth or positive change, and for me to stop, breathe, and assume a stance of peace. Thank you.